In a monumental shift in global energy dynamics, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, UAE, have recently joined BRICS, the coalition of emerging economies comprising Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Known primarily as dominant oil-producing nations within OPEC, Saudi Arabia and the UAE's inclusion in BRICS is sending shockwaves across the globe. Their membership introduces unprecedented influence into the bloc, significantly impacting Western control over the global oil market. Western economies, historically reliant on OPEC's oil production and pricing structure, now face a formidable challenge as BRICS expands its influence on global oil and energy markets. In today's video, we'll discuss how Saudi Arabia and UAE's BRICS membership threatens Western oil hegemony, the geopolitical implications of this shift, and what this means for the future of energy control and economic power in the global arena. For over half a century, the global oil industry has been dominated by Western nations, with the US and Europe playing pivotal roles in energy production, distribution, and pricing. This dominance began with the establishment of companies often referred to as the Seven Sisters: BP, Shell, Exxon, Mobil, Chevron, Gulf Oil, and Texaco, which controlled most of the world's oil reserves through the mid-20th century. These companies shaped oil markets, controlling supply chains, pricing structures, and ultimately maintaining an edge over global energy resources. However, OPEC's formation in 1960 marked the beginning of a shift. Dominated by Middle Eastern oil-rich nations like Saudi Arabia and the UAE, OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, started to assert control over oil pricing and distribution, reducing the West's direct influence. Still, the West has maintained considerable control through financial systems and partnerships with these oil-exporting countries. With the entry of Saudi Arabia and UAE into BRICS, the landscape is set to change further, with major implications for how energy resources are controlled and distributed globally. The move threatens to weaken Western influence and disrupt the traditional power balance in the oil industry. The inclusion of Saudi Arabia and UAE in BRICS is not just symbolic. It introduces significant oil-producing power into the bloc. Together, Saudi Arabia and UAE control over 25% of the world's proven oil reserves. Their combined production levels add considerable weight to BRICS, making the bloc not only an economic force, but now also a formidable player in global energy markets. By joining BRICS, Saudi Arabia and the UAE gain the opportunity to diversify their political and economic alliances away from exclusive Western influence, especially given BRICS' emphasis on promoting a multipolar world order. This shift allows these nations to trade and collaborate within a framework that challenges the Western-dominated financial systems and encourages the use of alternative currencies to the US dollar. For instance, BRICS countries have been advocating for a new payment system that would reduce reliance on the dollar for global trade. With Saudi Arabia and UAE's oil reserves backing this system, BRICS now has the potential to set new standards in energy transactions, possibly accepting payments in yuan or even a future BRICS currency. At the heart of the global oil market lies the petrodollar system, a system in which oil is traded almost exclusively in US dollars. This system has provided the United States with a significant advantage, allowing it to maintain demand for its currency and supporting its position as the world's economic leader. Saudi Arabia has been a linchpin of this system, having agreed to price its oil exclusively in dollars in exchange for military protection and economic ties with the US. With Saudi Arabia's membership in BRICS, the petrodollar system faces an existential threat. If Saudi Arabia and the UAE begin pricing oil in currencies other than the dollar, such as the Chinese yuan or even a BRICS-developed currency, the demand for the US dollar could decrease significantly. Such a move would not only weaken the dollar's global standing, but also reduce the influence the US holds over oil-producing nations. Moreover, Russia and China, already prominent BRICS members, have been vocal about their desire to de-dollarize international trade. Their partnership with Saudi Arabia and UAE and BRICS creates a platform for actualizing this goal. Should BRICS establish an alternative oil trading system that does not rely on the dollar, it would represent one of the most significant shifts in the global financial system in decades. The shift in energy alliances within BRICS poses a severe geopolitical challenge to Western nations. For the United States and Europe, Saudi Arabia and UAE's shift toward BRICS raises concerns about the future of their relationships with these key oil producers. The potential for these countries to exit the US-led economic order means that the West would lose leverage over oil production and pricing, leaving the US and its allies scrambling for alternative energy sources. In response to this shift, the US may feel pressured to further deepen its military and economic ties with other oil-producing countries like Iraq, Nigeria, and Venezuela. Meanwhile, Europe, which remains heavily dependent on oil imports, would face increased energy security risks as the influence of OPEC countries within BRICS grows. Moreover, as BRICS now has a significant share of global oil reserves under its control, the organization could potentially set its own oil prices, creating a parallel structure to OPEC or even merging strategies with it. With this combined strength, BRICS could challenge both Western sanctions and Western-dominated energy markets, providing member countries with a protective economic structure outside of Western control. The inclusion of Saudi Arabia and UAE in BRICS also affects the trajectory of renewable energy and sustainable development. BRICS has been proactive in pushing for a sustainable energy transition, particularly with China and India leading investments in renewable technology. Saudi Arabia and UAE have already started investing in green energy projects, with Saudi Arabia's Vision 2030 and UAE's clean energy initiatives aiming to reduce their reliance on oil over the coming decades. In collaboration with BRICS, Saudi Arabia and UAE could leverage their fossil fuel profits to accelerate renewable energy projects, both domestically and within other BRICS countries. This potential aligns with BRICS's broader agenda of sustainable development, which focuses on reducing dependency on Western-controlled energy markets. In this evolving landscape, the power to shape the future of energy may increasingly shift from Western-led initiatives like the Paris Agreement to BRICS-driven strategies that prioritize energy independence and a multipolar approach to sustainable development. This shift signals that the West may need to adapt its energy strategy to remain competitive in a rapidly changing market. In conclusion, Saudi Arabia and the UAE's entry into BRICS is a seismic shift in global energy politics. By joining BRICS, these Gulf states are actively undermining Western control over the global oil market, threatening the petrodollar system, and realigning themselves with emerging powers in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. This bold move has the potential to reshape global oil trade, reduce the US dollar's dominance, and weaken Western geopolitical influence in the Middle East. The question remains, will the West adapt to this new reality, or will BRICS continue to erode the foundations of Western oil hegemony? As Saudi Arabia and the UAE set the stage for a multipolar world order, the era of Western dominance in the energy sector may be drawing to a close. What do you think? Will BRICS successfully dismantle Western oil hegemony, or can the US and its allies counter this shift? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights on the shifting global power dynamics.